Hey there, I'm Sully, and welcome into the Gun Club. Now, we've been talking a lot about going to the range, and so today I decided I'd try to grab a friend or two who's actually worked at a gun range. I've done a little bit of time at a range, but wanted to grab someone who has done a little bit of time at a gun range. So, in light of that, nice enough to join us this evening is a young lady by the name of Karen Speak. She's worked at a couple different gun ranges, and we're going to get some of her stories and chat with her about some of the best stuff she's ever seen, some of her great laughs, and see what advice she has for going to the range. Also, if you are gentle enough and nice enough to her tonight, hopefully she'll be coming back again to do a couple of segments on ladies with firearms or girls with guns. She's taught these classes. She's also a firearms instructor. But enough from me. We'll let her start talking about her background. Karen, go ahead. I think you got you on there.
Why, hello there, everybody. My name's Karen, like Sully said. Um, I started I started out in law enforcement. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and that's where my love of guns come from. And
Still haven't grown up yet, have you?
no, definitely not. But I had an opportunity to take a break from healthcare and went to work at a gun range, got my instructor certifications through the NRA, and I've taught one on one. I've taught classes up to um, carry conceal in my state. So there's a world of opportunities out there.
Yeah, and I hate to say that you're necessarily a unicorn, but in the firearms community, and hopefully this is something that changes going forward or gets better going forward, unfortunately, we don't see not only necessarily the females, but the female instructors with the law enforcement background, the legals background, which I think, I know when you and I have done joint classes together, especially some of the classes that were geared towards females, it's, I think, maybe less threatening for them. I
Yeah,
try not to come off as too much over the top, but, I am me. And
right.
But on the other side, I think sometimes we see females are more comfortable with a female instructor, and so I think you bringing that to the table is definitely great.
Oh yeah, it's been. I've had a lot of good success with the females that I've taught, and even the guys. Just
Hmm.
learning from a different perspective.
Right. And I know you worked at two different ranges for a while, and I know I talked to you a little bit about kind of what we're going into tonight, but I want to start giving the new people. I mean, we've got a million plus, they say, first time firearm owners in the last couple of years. They're going to a new range or they're going to a range for the first time. I want to give them some idea of what they can expect because, you've been to a couple of ranges in your life. I've been to a few ranges here and there in a
Yeah,
couple of
just a
different
few.
places. And not only, what they can expect, but also give them some idea as far as some of the, shall we say, range etiquette. I did a little bit that Don't Be That Guy. I don't know if you had a chance to watch part two of this series, but it was like, don't be that guy. Don't walk into the gun shop and be like, yeah, I need a holster for this and wave it out around.
You'd be surprised how many times that has happened.
Oh, no, that's the sad part. I wouldn't. And the funny thing,
Yeah.
we get to the point. No, we were laughing about it in the last stream. Or now, again, the range you worked at. I've been to the range, one of them, and there's a extensive case there. How many times did you get the person who, they want to look at something and they look at it and they manipulate it and they try all the safety in this or the decock or whatever the case may be, and then they're like, first, well, I want to aim it at something. And you're looking up and you're like, I know you're not about to do this. I know you're not. Yeah, he's about to do this.
Exactly.
He's about to do it.
Yep. And then what does he do? He does it. Or she
Yeah.
does it.
Hmm. And, things like that. newbie mistakes, and you've been in the business long,
Right.
and I've been in the business long enough. I try to be very, very tolerant in coaching and everything else. On the other side of the coin, if we're dealing with that customer front and center, we kind of expect it. I think the worst reactions I've seen are from the people who are either A, standing next to them at the counter, or someone else who's helping another customer who doesn't expect it and suddenly looks up and sees the barrel and the business end of something. Because I don't care what it is, it can be the littlest 380 and it's going to look like a 50 A&E when it's 2 feet from your head.
Exactly.
And I know one gentleman, this law enforcement officer, who was at the counter and he just reacted instinctively. And the gentleman who had it done to him, he couldn't understand why this officer suddenly just reaches up and, muzzle, not only is getting the weapon off him, but down and cleared right out of this guy's hands.
Right.
And
Right. Well,
what the hell's wrong with you? It's like, dude, you just pointed a gun at his head.
yeah, it all, the first, for me, the first rule of gun safety is don't point it at anything,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if
Yeah.
it's loaded or not. It is, you have to train yourself to not do stuff like that because one, it's instinctive. The more you do it properly,
Mm-hmm.
the less chance there's going to be of you, you know, doing something like that,
Right.
putting a muzzle to somebody's face or
Right.
you know what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah.
It's not I can't even think of the saying now.
Right.
What is it? Training something about training makes perfect. But it's perfect
Practice
training.
makes perfect, but it
Practice
better be
makes perfect.
perfect
Thank
traffic.
you.
Perfect practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I agree with you 100%. It's good habits.
Yes.
And the other side of it is, and this is just me, and again, we try, and I know you try to be as forgiving and as gentle and as warm and kind and wonderful as you can with the new shooters, but it can have a chilling, shall we say, reaction or a chilling tone to their time at the range
Right.
if the RSO or the instructor or whoever's in charge has to call them down 3 times for
Right.
doing stuff.
Right.
And the other thing, and I'll say this, and I practice this, and you're the witness that I practice this.
Yes.
The day that I went to your range, I was there, and that morning, to give people the backstory, that morning I had done a medical class for their instructors. I was there. Karen invited me up to do a medical class for their instructors. And I brought a couple people with me who were very new shooters who worked in my office who wanted to get in some range time. And they traveled with me up to where Karen worked. Well, we get up there, we do this class. And in the class, they knew that I was firearms instructor. They knew I had a background in law enforcement, background EMS, was teaching this class for them and everything else. The deal was that after we got done with the class, we were going to get some free range time out of it. So I'd get a chance to do a little teaching with them. I was cool with this. Not only to help her out, but also, I believe instructors should have a medical background. If we're going to be around teaching new people how to use these things, I'm a big believer in instructors having a medical background. If I can bring that skill and that tool to them, I'm all for it. Because it's going to make the firearms community safer having medically trained people on the range.
Absolutely.
So we did this. Well, the deal was afterwards we're going to get some range time. Their range has a policy that you sign the waiver and do the paperwork and whatever you're going to do, and then we all have to go watch a safety video. Now there were 3 of us: myself, who's got a little bit of experience with firearms, and these 2 newer people. Folks, I was at a new range. I was in their house, her house, whatever we want to say. Their rules were I watched the video. Could I have narrated or made the video? Quite probably. Did I know pretty much everything the video was saying? Quite probably. Did I get all indignant? Why do I have to watch this? I know what I'm doing. And this is someone who's been there that morning teaching for a few hours for free. If we think about it from a backstory of you go to a new range, they're going to have their policies, their rules.
Right.
They may not want, I don't know, I don't recall one way or the other. Did y'all have a requirement on no lead ammo?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Anything could have
Okay.
been used.
Okay. I know some require all jacketed ammo. They don't want the open lead in the range. They say it's significantly different. Okay. That's their house, their rules. I'll respect their house when I'm in it. Do I have to agree with it? Do I have to think it's making that much of a difference? No. But their house, their rules. Another one I've seen, no steel cases, no aluminum cases, brass casing only. Now, do I have to agree with it? No. Do I have to go along with it if I'm going to shoot in their house? Yeah, of course. What were some of the ones you saw? Because I know you worked the range.
A lot of people, had problems, like you said, with watching the video. Well, I've been shooting for 30 years, and
Right.
I know what I'm doing. Okay, well, you may know what you're doing, but this is our policy. All new shooters need to watch the video, and it's what, maybe 5 minutes of your time
Yeah,
with that.
it was maybe 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
And when you have to explain it to them that this is just our policy, it's a blanket policy for everybody. Everybody watches the same video. It's for your safety, it's for my safety, and everybody else's safety that's out, on the firing line.
Right.
I think that was the big thing.
And see, the funny thing is, there's one of our ranges locally that they have it's a video, and everyone has to watch it. And I was there probably about a month and a half ago. Really nice range, a little bit further away from the house than some of the ranges I go to, but I was out there looking around, and the person with me was, I won't say an absolute newbie, but hadn't shot probably in 10 years, and she wanted to go get some practice time in. So we get out of the office and had a little firearm Friday. I stood there and watched the video end to end with her. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, and she was looking at me. I don't understand why you have to do this. I was like, trust me, we're good.
Oh yeah. Well, especially if you're shooting with somebody that's new to the sport, or just feeling uneasy about it, a little anxious,
Right.
let's say. Having you there with her, I'm sure brought that anxiety level down.
Oh yeah.
You have a top-notch instructor and a newbie. I mean,
Where was the top-notch instructor? Because it wasn't me.
Hey, I've taught with you before. You do just fine.
Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
But my thing was, she couldn't believe. She's like, I can't believe they're making you watch the same video I am. I was like, you know what? It's their house.
Right.
I don't care what range I go to, whether I was, again, back in the day when we used to have to go up to like Southwestern CJ to do our annual requalifications. Now, at the same time, I'm not necessarily working, but I'm a very, very regular range rat who had pretty much run of the place down at my home range. When we went to the range up by Southwestern CJ, the rules were a little bit different. But you know what? I'm in their house. I've got to respect their rules.
Right.
would that be what I'd enforce or go with or recommend at my home range? No. And at the gun clubs I belong to subsequent to that time, have I seen different rules? Yeah.
Oh
But I
yeah.
think one of the things, especially veteran shooters, need to get in the mindset of one big one for the veterans going out, you're going to a new range, you know what you know. They don't know what you know. You're not a regular there. I mean, I'm sure,
Right.
Karen, you had your regulars.
Right.
And I'm sure some of your regulars got away with a little bit more on the range than Johnny Come Lately, who's you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And Johnny Come Lately maybe they're 2020 IDPA stock champion. I don't know
Yep.
that guy. We're dealing with loaded weapons here.
Right.
you know Sorry if some of the ranges are going to have their rules, and I support that, and I try to be respectful of that. Because the funny thing is, not only does it make my day better, it makes whoever's working the range's day better.
Right.
But if I'm really nice about it the first few times I'm in there, you can build a reputation to be a nice person, and then they like seeing you come back, or you can
Oh
be that
yes.
guy or that girl.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the range, the where I worked, we did have our regulars,
Oh, yeah.
and it was either, oh look, here comes Bob. He's a pretty cool cat. He
Yeah.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Or it's, oh crap, here comes Joe. Everybody go run and hide because
Yeah.
you
I
know
just saw Joe pull in the parking lot. I think I got to go to the bathroom for a while.
yeah, and stay gone for about 45 minutes.
I am. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but that was one thing, with working in sales of firearms. I mean, not only was I an instructor, I also sold.
Right.
Um, you build a relationship with the staff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the shooters, him and his wife would come in every week, and we had a great, working relationship. I mean, he knew what he was
Mm-hmm.
doing, she knew what she was doing, and we hit it off. And the next thing
Right.
I know, I'm getting a fifth of spiced rum.
Well, hey.
um, but it's all in a matter of your attitude when you come in.
Mm-hmm.
If you come in, let me ask you this: can you cuss on this channel?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, if you come in like Billy Badass, thinking that you know everything, you're not going to get very far on that range.
Right.
Um, Somebody will cut you off at your knees and explain to you, you know, like you were saying earlier, this is our house, our rules.
Right.
So,
And I support 100% y'all's right to do that.
yeah,
And I mean, and again, it goes for commercial ranges, it goes for private ranges.
yep,
I, have a couple of private places I can go shooting. But the thing is, the reason I've got a gate key or a wide open, hey, come out anytime, man. Even if I'm not here, the way back out to the long ranges. In fact, where we did some of the shooting with some of the CWP classes we did together,
uh huh,
there was a reason why I had the welcome to go there on his land anytime,
right.
as opposed to somebody who either you go out and I think, what are some of the worst range offenses you've seen besides safety stuff? Okay. Being unsafe and stupid and immature. We'll get to that in a minute because I've
Right.
got some great ones. I think, what are some of the worst ones you've seen on ranges?
Um, Most of mine would have to be safety related. I mean, just total disregard um, for everything, for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. One in particular, watched the video. She was a new shooter. Um, she was pointing, her firearm um, pretty much everywhere except in the direction of the target.
Downrange, yeah.
I mean, she was shooting the cable system.
And
Uh,
that is what, few $100
oh
system.
yeah, I think one of the guys had to end up um, recabling it or
And
doing something.
that may be a new shooter who doesn't know,
Exactly.
or it may be somebody who's playing. I'm willing to say 50-50 on that. You probably know better
Yeah,
than I do.
I think in that case it was some of both.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think she took it very seriously, and one thing about going to a um, gun range, whether you're inside or outside, you have to maintain a level of safety awareness.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and like we've talked, you know, up until now about range policies and stuff, stuff like that. Your first priority is safety.
Hmm.
Because if you're not safe, somebody, you yourself or somebody else is going to get hurt. And
Right.
same with a new shooter. And fortunately, at the range that we worked at, if we saw um, a safety offense, I hate to call it an offense, let's say an event, occur, we would go out and correct them.
Right.
Like, let me show you, how this is done, or
Hmm.
let me show you, how to do this correctly.
Hmm.
And, um, but, there are some instances where you have to react um, at that moment.
Right.
You were talking earlier with about the police, or the police officer that was at the counter that took the firearm from the guy that had it, who had pointed
Yeah.
it. Um,
And I mean, it was a unloaded from the case gun, and I was I didn't work there, but again, I was there a lot.
yeah.
The joke was I didn't have the key to the building, but I did have the key to the coffee maker. So
Coffee.
yeah, we'll talk about some coffee. But anyway, um, yeah, it was one thing they'd always try to do, especially if someone was brand new, especially if they were using like a rental gun and brand new.
Yep.
It was like they'd look at me and say, "Hey man, you mind doing me a favor? I got you." And I'd walk in with them and show them, give them at least a once over on it.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, that day I was, over there, kind of got out of the way because people were busy doing their thing on the range and, doing their thing, and they were trying to make some sales. And I look up and I see this gun pointed at, the individual's head, and, this individual
Right.
I happen to know and very well. And it's like, oh, this is going to be ugly. And he just looked, and as he looked, again, I don't remember what the gun was. I know it was remember, I can see it was a stainless model. And he looked up, he saw that thing, and he just reared back, yeah,
Yeah.
and very quickly disarmed the guy. And the guy was, man, what the hell's wrong with you? Dude. And it's like, you don't do that.
Right.
Well, it's not loaded. It's like, okay, let's start with the four rules.
Right.
And now, again, here's a laugh. You'll get a laugh out of this one again if you didn't see the part two of this series. The one of the places I go locally has a sign on their door. It's a glass door on the front of the shop,
Uh huh.
and it's got the standard push bar, push hardware you'd see. And from that sign with bright red lettering on it, all firearms must be holstered or in a case.
Uh huh.
And it goes from the handrail to the bottom of the door. The lettering is about that tall.
Uh huh.
And then above it, it's on a white piece of paper. Read this sign. And then the other side's 8.5 by 11 piece of paper is number of idiots who did not read this sign. And it's like 20 something tally marks. And I sat there, we were walking. I was like, what? They read this sign? Yeah, it sounds like. I was like, oh, okay. Number of idiots who. Oh, wow. Okay.
That's
But now, again, they're running a business. Now, this business happens to include firearms.
right.
But, okay, let's say we're going to go work at Karen's hardware store or Sully's hardware store.
Uh huh.
Would we want people playing with power tools? You know, no, that's a bad day. You know,
Yep.
yeah. Let's just sit there and start this chainsaw in the middle of Lowe's and see how they react. Because I promise you, it'll be bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
seriously, go grab a weed eater and start cranking it up, or go grab a thing, start mixing chemicals in the garden center. See what happens. I
Right.
promise you, you're in for a long day. And so again, because of the nature of the firearms business, whether it be sales or on the range, yeah, we're handling firearms. But again, folks, best advice we can give you: handle them safely, please.
Exactly. Regardless if they're loaded or not, you
Mm-hmm.
have to, you know, you always treat a firearm as if it was loaded, regardless if it is or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know when somebody may think, oh, I'm going to play a joke on my friend and put, you know, a live round in the
Right.
chamber, not in the friend not knowing it. That could
Yeah.
have some pretty severe consequences.
Yeah. And again, I think you made a great point. If we always assume it's loaded, we'll never be necessarily wrong and we'll never make that fatal mistake, that critical mistake.
Yeah.
It's loaded. And again, when you go into a new gun store, gun range, either one, being safety conscious, I think, is the best way to get yourself off on a good foot with the staff. I mean,
Yes.
let's face it, the people who work there typically are not anti gun. They're very pro gun. They enjoy guns. They work with guns. Most of them handle and carry guns on a daily basis.
Yes.
You'll probably get along really well with them, and they'll be probably really fun to talk about guns with and do gun stuff with. If you cross that safety line and get to the point that you're a safety hazard to them, their business, their store, themselves, that turns ice cold really fast.
It really does. It really
Yeah,
does.
don't be that guy. And it's yeah, though again, we know people are new. We understand that. You know, walking in, like I said the other day when we were talking about it, even if you're carrying your gun to the range in a Walmart bag, we can live with that. We're not going to
Yeah,
judge you as badly as if you walk in waving it around.
exactly. Exactly.
Get a pistol pouch. Talk to a gun buddy. Talk to somebody. Somebody will find you something to carry your gun in besides your hand
Yeah,
going
right.
into a range. Because again,
Right.
remember, they're also businesses. They do get occasionally robbed, although I think that would be the dumbest place to go. It has happened.
Yes.
We had someone tried to rob a gun shop down in Georgia a couple of years ago. It didn't work out real well for them.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably didn't end very well. Uh,
No.
at the range that I worked at, we all, the staff, all of the staff carried,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was open carry or concealed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's nothing like doing your day to day thing, working with a customer, and somebody comes in with a firearm that's not cased or in a holster.
Yeah, that's the way to get off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an uneasy feeling with that.
So, okay. Now, here's one for you. And this is, I got sort of two answers to this.
Okay.
But for the new shooter, why do we go to the range? Now, I've got two, maybe three really good answers to this, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Three reasons why people go to the range.
Um, I think for me, they're curious
Okay.
about it. Um, Another one would be, and I would have to say, thanks to COVID, people are just generally scared and they want to have um, that level of protection.
Right.
I was at the gun range when COVID started,
Mm-hmm.
and you would not believe
Oh.
the amount of firearms that were sold.
Mm-hmm.
Right as COVID, when the pandemic
Right.
started,
And that's, I mean,
and
that's the people right now, because that was, March 2020. So we're talking 3 year window, the last 3 years, say. A lot of yours, I'm sure, were newer shooters.
yeah, the majority of them, and
Yeah.
that was, um, and the majority of what I saw were women, were
Mm-hmm.
females.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Well, good.
distinctly this one day, husband and wife had come in. She wanted that level of protection,
Right.
but she was so scared and so intimidated by it that she was bawling her eyes out because
She was
scared.
intimidated by the COVID side or the gun side.
Well, both.
Okay.
The uncertainty of what the pandemic was going to bring,
Right.
um, and just uh, it. Think about it. Most females don't think about guns like the way men do.
Okay.
You know, um,
We only do it on days that end in a Y, or at least some of us.
exactly. Um, Most females don't um, have that in their repertoire. Let's say, but this particular day, I mean, she was scared on both sides. It was so
Right.
much anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
with the pandemic of not knowing what's going to happen. Oh my God, am I going to go out to my car and get robbed? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but on the other hand, it was, oh my
And I mean,
God,
I remember your range was in a very nice area. This was not,
oh yeah,
folks, please don't understand, this was not a bad neighborhood. This was in
oh,
a very nice area, very nice
very
neighborhood.
nice.
But,
Um,
um, you know, I know I went to one of the ranges, or one of our larger gun manufacturers and resellers here in South Carolina. And I mean, this is the kind of place that they make their own, and they, have boxes and boxes on hand. They had some, but you could tell it was picked over. I went to another range that was just um, reseller only. They didn't manufacture.
uh-huh.
Short of like antique stuff, I mean, I could have probably gotten. They had like a $2,900 custom Kimber with like gold leaf engraving on it, 45.
Yep.
They had a couple of 22 long wheel guns that were barrels like this,
Yep.
and a couple of like period pieces, cowboy revolvers, and like the 44 Colt, the
Yeah.
family. That was the only firearms in the store. The cases were empty.
Oh yeah. There was one day I had a gentleman come in. He was a super nice guy. Um, and I can't recall if he was a regular, but he dropped over $4,000 just
Yeah.
in firearms. That wasn't counting the ammunition. That wasn't counting the cases or the holsters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was anything and everything. You
Yeah.
know, handguns, rifles, shotguns. You name it. He
Yeah.
purchased and didn't bat an eye at it.
And the stupid thing was, when I was out and around, I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. I
Hmm.
was just, in the area and decided to go by the shops. But it was actually the range that Brian's a member of, that I've gone by there a few times. And, we started, you know, I went over there,
Uh huh.
and but yeah, PSA was doing they had a line out the door.
Oh, I
And when we
bet.
first pulled in, PSA had a line. PSA Greenville had a line out the door. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that was crazy. You know,
But I mean, I'm thinking, back to her mindset, and I remember the way it was in the early part, and yeah, yeah, the people like me who wanted to get 1,000 rounds of everything just in case, just
right,
to, something's going wrong in the world. I need an extra 1,000 of everything because what I had wasn't enough. But you know, then female coming in with her husband to the range, and what's causing more anxiety, the range or the COVID?
right.
But now when I was thinking about the three reasons, at least that I go to the range,
Uh huh.
number one is honestly practice, practice, practice.
Right.
I mentioned in one of the last videos, as far as the range goes, think about shooting like driving a car. Would you want somebody driving a car in a high stress situation who the last time they drove a vehicle was the last time you went to the range?
No.
Okay. Imagine this. Would you want to get on an airplane and the pilot in command and the two pilot and first officer, the last time they sat down in front of a control yoke was the last time you've been at the range?
Hmm. I don't think that's a hard one to
Yeah, you kind of see where
answer.
I'm going here.
Yeah.
It's perishable skills. So get there, practice, skills development definitely are
Right.
two of the big things.
Right.
Next one is you can learn things. And when I say learn things, if you're either having issues with a gun or looking for a part for a gun or looking to do something or get an extended mag for a gun or something else,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you don't have that gun buddy, you don't have Karen in your speed dial or me in your speed dial, you can turn around and say, okay, hang on. I'm going to go ahead and, go up there. Yeah, I'm going to the range. I'm getting some practice time in, but I can also talk guns with gun folks. Whether it's
Right.
gun guys or gun girls, I can talk guns with gun folks. Because guess who probably, if such and such part is made, or you want to change out this safety, or you want something left handed, or change the magazine release to the opposite side, guess who probably knows if it can be done and how to do it and what parts you need?
Exactly.
I mean, even if everybody working the counter is not a gunsmith, they're all sort of junior gunsmiths because chances are they've handled that make and model and frame of whatever before. And a lot of times you'll get better information there than you will from some folks on the internet. Now, granted, we're some folks on the internet, but you notice we're not telling you how to modify your springs on your gun to make it work real good. Or, I don't believe in that personally. That's just not my thing. You know, I can do minor modifications. I can do simple stuff. I can do some cosmetic work on my stuff. I don't work on other people's stuff. I don't want the responsibility or the liability. But if you go to a gun range, if that person doesn't know, chances are there's someone in the building who knows who knows.
Right. And, with, to further um, play on what you were saying as far as asking, you know, when you're dealing with firearms, um, there's, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but there's no stupid question. I would rather have somebody ask a question that, some people may deem silly or, well, they should have known that, than assume.
Right.
Because you know what assuming gets, it makes an ass out of you and me.
And the big thing to me, like I said, is, the one question we had someone come in who wanted to, I don't remember the gun, it might have been a SIG, maybe, but they were, no, it wouldn't have been a SIG. They were, left-handed
Uh huh.
and the controls were all backwards to them.
Right.
And they were asking questions about was there a way to change some of that out,
Uh huh.
or did we know what models would be able to change that out? And I will say this, and again, not throwing rocks at any of the big box sporting goods stores,
Right.
but I would go to a range that has their own gunsmiths on staff and ask that question. Or if you want to change out the handguard of your AR or attach a light to your AR to your whatever, I would go in to that environment that has not only people there, they may or may not have a certified gunsmith on duty, but I would ask it there before I'd ask it at a lot of these big box stores.
Exactly.
Because, and again, not dogging them out, and you may find some really, really knowledgeable people there. On the other side of the coin, though, the guy who's working behind the gun counter may have been selling kayaks a week ago.
Right.
You go to a gun store, like I said, it may not even be a gunsmith, but they'll know who. Okay, shoot, modifications on a 1911. Ed, come here, let's talk. What do you need?
Yep.
Well, Ed builds his own 1911s for fun.
Yeah.
The best way to swap out a barrel on an AR, okay, or the best way to swap out a stock standard for a collapsible and what the possibilities are for an AR. These are people who tinker with these things all the time. Right. If they work in a gun shop, gun range, guns, they're going to be more knowledgeable. And they're, again, to the new shooters, these can be some of the greatest resources. So even if you don't have a question that day, you build a relationship with some of these folks. Like Karen said, she knew her regulars coming in.
Yeah. And one thing, to add to that, if you are a brand new shooter and you don't have a Sully or a Karen to go with you, pay the extra money and get a lesson. Get an instructor for 30 minutes, for an hour, to kind of ease you into it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with sitting down with an instructor and say, hey, go over my pistol with me.
Right.
Help me get more familiar with it, because the more you're familiar with what you're using, you're going to develop a comfort level.
Right.
Now, with that being said, you never want to feel 100% comfortable with a firearm in your hand.
Right.
Because when you do that,
that's that
mistakes are going to be made.
Mm-hmm. And, to me, again, new gun owners, and I'll say this, you made that point, and again, not to take anything away from any of the ranges around here, I've had people do CWP classes with me. When they're setting it up, I'll say, if they're a new shooter, class starts at whatever time that day. We're doing a Guns 101 before that time for free.
Right.
Now, I get there in the morning. I'm opening up the training center, getting everything ready, getting the PowerPoint up, whatever I need to do, making the coffee. Keep talking about coffee. Anyway, but on the other side of that coin, if someone comes in, and I have had people walk in to a CWP class, to the Guns 101 section beforehand, with literally a plastic box saying, this is what I got left to me by my uncle or my father, or my uncle said I should get trained with this. And if you remember, we had a couple of those in the class that we did together.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, great. Let's go over this and how it works. And especially if when I first started playing with this, there were only so many brands.
Right.
I can't keep track of all the brands. So if they're going to bring something different or that different out on the range, it gives me a chance, if they're not familiar with it and I've never seen it before, it gives me a chance to tinker with it and play with it and everything else. So if they need help out on the range, it's not in the middle of live fire drills that I'm sitting there going, okay, let me Google how the hell this thing works.
Yeah, right.
I've been there.
Yeah.
But, again, that I'll do it. Anybody who asks me, I will do a Guns 101 free for them. Absolutely. With whatever they've got. Meet them at the training center. We'll sit down. We'll go over it top to bottom and sideways twice, because there is such a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. They may have driven a car before, but they sure as hell haven't driven an 18-wheeler with 8 speeds.
Right. I mean, you can, purchase, a pistol for $150, that may be a Gremlin, or you can purchase, top of the line 1911 for $1,500. That's your Maserati. I
How'd
mean,
you know what I was looking at the other day?
what's that?
How'd you know what I was looking at the other day?
The Gremlin?
No, I'm actually very tempted. I've been looking at doing a project on 1911.
Oh,
I was
nice.
looking at I've sort of got two schools of thought going.
Uh
Do I get the high dollar 1911, which was, I think it's 14.99 at PSA.
huh.
It's Springfield. It's a 1911. It's Commander model.
Oh, nice.
Um, I'll see if I can get you pull it up here. But yeah, I was looking at that. But beyond that, or do I get the lower and lower tier, 1911,
Right.
something that's not, I won't say it's a no name, but it's not as name brand as what I was looking at.
Uh huh.
And do I get it and then say, okay, here's the deal. I can now build it and tinker with it and work on it all the way up to what I want.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not, uh, I do I need a 1911? No. Could
I
it be
think
fun to have?
absolutely.
Well, is there any good, and that actually comes back to my third reason why we go to the gun range. And me personally, I'll say it, it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun, you
It's a
know.
great way to relieve stress.
Mm-hmm.
You just get out, clear your mind, you know, get your sights focused on that target, um, and just have fun.
Right. And the thing is, this is another thing for the new people in the chat. And if you've got questions, please, by all means, feel free to holler at us. But, you know, going to the range should be fun. It should
Yeah.
not be arduous. It should not be, oh man, I got to go to the range. I know I need to go to the range. Yeah. It's like, ooh, range day. I'm in a good mood. Yeah.
Right.
Trying to find here. I can't find the one I was looking at. It was, I want to say it was originally $14.99, and they were had it on sale for $13.99 or $13.49. It was like 150 off, and it was a nice. It's 4.5. Here it is. It's out of stock right now, but let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, this is this baby over here. Let me see. Share a screen. Share a window. Let's see. Boom. There you go.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I kind of liked it. And it's all nice engraved, checkered into the grips.
I
And then
like that.
it's the 1911 frame, but
Uh,
it's the 4.25 instead of the full 5-inch frame.
right.
And so to me, that was, where I wanted to go with it. The nice checkering on the backstrap, of course, the beaver tail safety, really nice looking pistol. And that was, what I was looking at. It was one of my options. Now this one's out of stock right now.
Yeah.
Um, to me, that was, one of my thought processes. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when you're talking about the $1,500 1911, I'm like, someone been telling you what I've been doing?
I have ESPN.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's better than ESP and PMS.
Right, right.
You know what that causes, don't you?
What's that?
Bitch thinks she knows it all.
Thank goodness I don't have to worry about that no more.
There you are. But, and see, the other one I looked at in the more, I will say, I don't want to dog this manufacturer. I don't know enough about them to really have a feeling on them.
Uh huh.
And I was looking at a couple of their options and a couple of their offerings. And I love it. PSA is running a Valentine's Day sale.
I just saw that. You know,
Yes.
there's one up close to me now.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been in it, but I need to take a field trip and go visit.
But yeah, here's the other one I was looking at,
Oh yeah, I've
which
never
is
heard of that brand.
it's a T-sauce. I looked at them. They were one option, or the other one I was looking at was Rock Island.
Rock
Um,
Island, yeah, I've dealt with Rock Island before.
I have got a Rock Island shotgun. It's a
Yeah,
VR60, and honestly, that thing has been, very, very well loved. I mean, I've not had a downside to it at all. And let me see here. It's going to pull this one up. But these Rock Islands that are coming in under 400
right.
for, again, the um, GI. And I'm like, Cerakote pistol with walnut grips. The other one's got slightly fancier grips. Any of those, honestly, to me, would be a wonderful core frame for me to build on and tinker with.
Yes.
You know, and then Rock Island. Like I said, I've not had any bad experiences. I didn't know much about Rock Island. I got a shotgun from them a while back,
Uh huh.
and it has been very, very good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't say I haven't had any stoppages with it,
Uh huh.
but I'll put it this way: you have less stoppages using like 3 or 3.5 loads than you do on 2 3/4 loads.
Yeah.
But I will say this: even if you have a stoppage on a 2 3/4, as long as you like, okay, I've got the 2 3/4 loads, you know, you fire it. It's a semi-auto. If it, I'd say 1 out of 10 will have a misfire, or
Uh
not a
huh.
misfire, but a feed failure, a stoppage,
Right.
and you clear it and go right back into battery with it. That was
Nice.
that one. I think you saw it when you were down here. It was the one that looks like an AR, but it's
Yes.
a 12 gauge. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I do remember that one.
And
I
I
do.
think what it was, the 2 3/4 just didn't have enough oomph to get a good ejection done.
Yeah.
So you give it a little help and it would go right back into battery for you.
Cool.
And I took that out. So again, Rock Island's been pretty good. And that again was a brand new stiff gun. You know, I'm sure with some more practice, with some more lube, with a little more wear in time, it'll become more reliable. Most
Yeah.
guns actually get that way, but
Yeah. Just shoot the new out of it and kind of break it in. So it's
yep.
like a new pair of sneakers. You got to break it in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Along with that, you also have to properly maintain your firearm.
Right.
Um, if you shoot it, clean it up. You know, I had, um, I'll tell you a little story
Sure. Go
about
ahead.
that. Um, my dad always carried his Smith and Wesson snub
Mm-hmm.
nose 38 in his pocket.
No,
And I
I'm
mean, he had
listening.
a
I
case.
just have to tinker with something here for a second.
No,
So
you
I'm
go
still
right ahead.
here.
Um, he always carried it in a case. But there was one evening, it he sat down and it fell out of his pocket. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then it fired.
Ooh,
There was a delay.
that's an issue.
Praise the good Lord, it only had rat shot in it. And nobody was around.
Right.
Um, but what had happened was, just by having it in his pocket, debris, um, it got gummed up.
Right.
So you know you always want to maintain um, your firearm and keep it clean. You know,
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Talking about new pistols or
Mm-hmm.
firearms in general.
And that's another thing I know we mentioned in one of the earlier, but it comes again without saying. This is where that having that gun buddy is so handy,
Exactly.
because I made the commentary in that one. You find the right gun buddy, he or she may have a gun cleaning kit or a gun cleaning setup that costs more than your gun did,
Oh, yes.
because this is something you accumulate over the years.
Yes.
And for a new gun owner, it can be a little bit nerve wracking for, I'm going to take this thing apart.
Oh, yes.
And it's real. I always get the chuckle out of the fact of the new gun owner who's sitting there going, "What do you mean take it apart and strip it down?" I mean, some people nowadays, I hate to say it, they're not even familiar with how to pull their floor mats out of their car to vacuum them.
You're exactly right.
Much less, I'm going to take this thing apart, put it back together, and it's not going to blow up. Oh no, they're made to be taken apart and stripped down. They're used to that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say, even if you haven't taken it to the range, you mentioned cleaning it. If it is a pocket gun, now again, pocket guns get more lint. Pocket guns and ankle guns get more abuse than typically holster guns do, from my experience anyway. I've carried in all wonderful positions, and my holster guns, I would always, clean, wipe down, whatever. And even if they haven't been to the range and don't need a formal cleaning, a nice wipe down with a gun cloth or a lube cloth,
Right.
it's going to help keep that metal on metal from happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And metal on metal causes wear causes deterioration.
Yep.
Think about it. If you haven't run your car, if you haven't lubed your car or run your car in the same time since you last lubed a firearm, how much metal on metal are you getting with your car?
Exactly.
Guns have two enemies: politicians and rust.
Right.
But we hate getting metal on metal wear and stuff like that. But you think about it, if you're an everyday carrier, and again, I carry every day, and one of my options I'll carry is the pocket rocket.
Right.
The other option I'll carry is something in a inside the waistband holster or a larger frame holster. But my pocket rocket actually gets shot less and cleaned more than my other ones.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm doing to it.
Yeah.
And if I've taken something else to the range and played with it, I've got all the gun cleaning stuff laid out. What do I have? And again, you've got multiple guns.
Right.
Hey, look, I didn't even take this one out and shoot it, but it's something I might carry someday.
Yeah.
Take it, break it down, unload it, put your ammunition away, clean it, cycle it, oil it, love it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt it, and you always want to be prepared. In the case of carrying something in your pocket, if I'm going to carry something, I want to know that it's going to work.
It's the same thing with people who have that spare tire on their car. When was the last time they checked the air in their spare tire?
Yeah.
And then they go to put it on and it's flat and they don't get it. And I'm like, okay, check the air in your spare. Or if you take your car somewhere to get serviced and they're checking your tire pressure and everything else, look on the little print off. Did they check the air in your spare?
Right.
I'm not saying they need to empty it and fill it up with fresh nitrogen or something like that, or pay a big fee for something. But is it still in decent condition? Is it dry rotted? How old is it?
Right.
The gun is your spare. Check the pressure in your fire extinguisher. If the kitchen catches fire, you kind of want to be able to put it out. Personal thing. But again, if you're going to rely on something as an everyday carry, as a pocket rocket, like you said, your dad carried it, clean it, and, decon it very well.
And he was one, he was one that, kept his, his pistol clean. It just, I don't know, he did a lot of yard work and stuff like that. It just happened to have gotten gummed up, and when it hit the floor, there was a delay, and then it fired. So,
Right.
we say all of that to say if it's something you're going to carry, make sure you keep it clean and make sure that beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's going to work when you need it to work.
Yeah. And again, another thing in there is, and I talked about this, is cycle out your ammunition once a year. I
Yeah.
know defensive ammunition, self defense ammunition is pricey. Once a year, when you're at the range, dump your mags of your self defense ammunition and get some
Yes.
fresh.
Yes.
And that's only because it's been exposed. If you're carrying every day, especially in a pocket or where you're perspiring, we're in South Carolina and North Carolina respectively, and you know guns get sweaty, guns get dirty, guns get wet in yard work, it rains on guns.
Yep.
you know my When I worked in law enforcement, my everyday carry, I was forever wiping it down.
Yeah.
you know
Well,
I
by cycling out, your carry ammunition, your defensive ammunition, you kind of get a feel for what kind of reaction, you're gonna have when you pull the trigger.
mhm.
Because defensive ammunition, you know,
It's a little bit hotter than some range ammo.
exactly, and you're gonna have, a different kick. You've
Mhm.
got to be able to handle that.
And the other thing is, especially now with so many grades of defensive ammunition and so many of these, I don't want to say pocket rockets, but these smaller, more compact firearms, you're going to see what feeds and what doesn't.
Exactly.
We talked about before, pick a good name brand recommended by either a gun guy or someone at the range, whatever else, of Jacket at Hollow Point, and the first box is testing your gun to see if it likes it.
Yeah.
Remember, I think it was part one when I said, some people, we were talking about part one is, okay, you brought your new baby home from the hospital, you're loving on it, now what do you feed it?
Yeah.
But, sometimes guess what? Some people are allergic to milk, some people are allergic to strawberries. Well, you want to know how that gun's going to react to different feeds. So, again, once a year, you make sure that that brand of ammunition is still feeding good.
Oh, absolutely. And can I tell a funny real quick?
Sure.
When you go to purchase ammunition, please, please, please make sure you're buying the right caliber.
Yes.
If you have a 9 millimeter,
Yes.
don't fill your magazine up with 380.
Right.
It'll fit,
Just yeah.
but it's not going to do you a damn bit of good because it won't. You may get one round fired, but it's not going to cycle anymore after that. I mean, I've
Right.
seen it so many times, and I'm actually trying to find the picture. Oh, here it is.
Well, I'm gonna throw one up here real quick
Yeah.
on the screen. Let me see here. I know we talked about it, and I'm sure you'll recognize this slide. Match up, you know, what is on the firearm itself, the barrel of the weapon, with the box itself. And 45 auto could be 45 auto or 45 ACP, be something similar. And the head stamp on the cartridges. And matching
Yeah.
that stuff up can be a big deal.
Oh, yes. Sully, I just sent you two pictures on Messenger.
Right.
If you'll throw up, if you have that ability.
I might be able to do that for you. Sure. Let's see what I can do here real quick. But, stuff like that is definitely a issue. Let me see here. Okay. Let me share that over the screen here. But I think one of the ones I've seen, we've had trouble with is folks get into, 9 millimeter versus 9x19 versus 9x18. And
Right.
it's like, oh, well, it all says 9 millimeter. You know, that right there is, a little bit of a log jam.
That was a lot. And it was just a case of not paying attention
Yeah. And that was
to what you're
380 and a
doing.
9.
I'm sorry.
That was a 380 and a 9.
I believe that's what that was. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's you've heard of single stack and double stack mags, folks. That is the ever elusive triple stack.
Oh, yes.
However, we'll just say that, not a good day at the office.
No, it doesn't exactly make the gunsmith happy when he has to fix that.
Right. Oh, I can definitely understand that 100%. But
But
again, it's stuff like that is, those are newbie mistakes. They're going to happen. We
exactly.
expect them to happen. You can't work in this, for any length of time without stuff like that happening. And we accept it, and we do, on the other side of that coin, it's like, wow. You look at on the other side of the coin, it's like, folks, that is just not a good thing by any stretch.
Right.
And
And
again, like you said, it's paying attention. And, I could do that. I've got 380s and 9s, and
yep.
now I've come back from the range before and tried to reload my defensive ammunition into my mags with 380s and 9s,
Uh-huh.
and suddenly realized I was having trouble telling the difference because a 380 is very close to a 9.
Yes.
So I sat them all on their head stamp and I lined them up. And the short ones, well, they went in the 380.
Yeah, and like Sully said, it's stamped on your firearm.
Mm-hmm.
What it can take, and it's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
And for our new people, if you
Don't be afraid to ask someone. Don't be
exactly
afraid to ask if you got, a gun guy or gun girl that you gun buddy, whatever. Great. Otherwise, ask the people at the range. Look, I'm not sure, or I'm new to this.
yeah
I think one of my other, I won't say pet peeves, but one of my other don't be that guy things is the person who comes in and they may have read a lot online, they may have watched all of our videos and think they are, very well informed. And we're covering the bare basics here. Don't be that person who knows everything and can't listen to anyone.
exactly
Because, again, I've seen it, we had a very interesting situation, and I could tell a story here.
okay
Guy comes in and he was very, very pro SIG. And he was asking about a lot of the different SIG models and everything else. Well, just so happened, one of the gentlemen who was working behind the counter was off-duty law enforcement who worked for the county. The county carried SIG 226s, 9mm.
uh-huh
The gentleman who was there was asking, a lot about SIG and everything else. And the gentleman who's helping him was very knowledgeable. And he's saying, have you thought about, different this, that, and the other? And the guy told him point blank that, well, if he was going to get a SIG, he was either going to get a 1911 or a SIG. But if he was going to get the SIG, it was going to have to be a 220. Because anyone carrying anything less than a 45 is just too much of a pussy to handle a real gun.
What?
Said this to a deputy who's got a 226 on his hip.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
226, 229. They had 226 at the time. His off-duty might have been a 229. But everyone, Buncombe County Sheriff's Department had just gone to SIG 226s for their entire sheriff's agency.
Oh, my word.
And again, it's just an example of something. Look, you may have read a lot, and you may be able to quote the foot pounds on a 45 ACP versus a 9 millimeter.
Right.
And, great. You have opinions. Everyone has got opinions.
They're like assholes. Everybody's got
Yeah,
one.
yeah. But again, I don't know what it is. It's guns. It's the same thing we see all the time. Well, I'd rather push a Chevy than drive a Ford.
Right.
Well, that's great. That really doesn't make a lot of sense because I don't think that's true. And, we can sit and we can talk about all this, that, and the other all day, and there are going to be opinions.
Yeah.
My FTO, he carried 1911 full frame very regularly, cocked and locked. On his days off, he carried his Commander very much cocked and locked. I've been known off duty to carry Browning high power cocked and locked.
Yeah.
And then again, someone says, well, the SIG is better because of this. And I read this article that says the SIG is great. Well, that's great. That author's opinion doesn't always have to become yours. And,
Yep.
oh, well, a SIG's got a better safety track record. Glocks have no safety. Glocks have no safety. They've actually got the little butterfly safety on the front of it.
Yeah.
Or, carrying cocked and locked is reckless. Okay. Or carrying one in the chamber or not carrying one in the chamber is stupid.
Right.
Now, you can find 25 gun people who will have different opinions. Don't be the person in the gun shop who walks in trying to pontificate your utmost amazing opinion that you know everything about everything about everything.
Yeah.
Especially if you're new to this. Yeah, you may
Oh.
have watched a lot of videos and you may have seen a lot of stuff and you may have watched a great video on stopping power and everything else. I'm here to tell you, I talked to a friend of mine, and Karen, you may recognize this individual.
Uh-huh.
They typically carry 9. However, their wife wanted to carry a little 380.
Uh-huh.
And I, from time to time, will carry a 380 as a pocket rocket, especially if it's summertime and I'm, limited in my concealment options.
Right.
And, somebody was telling him that it was funny. He was telling him in front of me, oh, so you got that for your wife. I hope you got her life insurance paid up, blah, 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 blah. And I sat there and I said, okay. And he said, that little gun, you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And I said, okay, statistically, do you know the rule of threes? He looked at me and said, the rule of threes? Yeah. No, what do you mean? I said, typically lethal force encounters. 3 shots in 3 yards in 3 seconds.
Yep.
Now, you ain't got to hit the broadside of a barn if you're within 3 yards. If she can handle that, likes that gun, is comfortable with that gun, and is all warm and fuzzy toward that gun and shoots it well, she's going to put 3 lethal shots in.
Yep.
I don't care if she's got a 22, one of the old Ruger 22 pistols. You remember the ones that had the round charger to the back?
Yep.
If she's within 3 yards, 3 shots out of that Ruger will do the job. If that's what she's happy carrying and that's what she likes and she's proficient with, I will take proficiency with a 22 or a 25 over, well, I've got the 44 Long Colt Super Magnum that I'm going to get 1 shot off, possibly miss because I flinched so bad, and my recovery on my second shot isn't going to happen because I'll be, deaf, dumb, and blind at that moment.
Yeah.
And again, thought process, and we'll get into this when we talk about personal defense plans, in-house, at the range, we've got eyes and ears on. We're in a pretty conducive environment to dealing with that situation. If you've got someone coming through your door at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're half awake, your marksmanship is not going to be what it is on the range. That's why I talked about defensive grade accuracy.
Yep.
I see we've got a couple of people watching us. If you want to, on the Rumble chat, if you've got any questions for myself or Miss Karen while we're here, please, by all means, throw them up in the chat, see what we've got going on tonight.
Yeah, let us know where you're from.
Yeah. At least give us a thumbs up. let us know you can actually hear us, that we're not just talking to ourselves here. Although that's fun too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I've known Karen for a few hundred years. Um, so from that standpoint, definitely somebody who hopefully likes doing this and comes back on regularly, because I love having different voices and different thoughts. Because
Imagine life without that.
Oh yeah. How long has it been, Mike? 20, almost 27 years?
um, it
Was it
would be
97?
somewhere around 97. Yeah, because you were still working law enforcement at the time,
Yeah.
and I was dealing with all the EMS stuff in North Carolina.
Yes.
And as long as we're taking a little bit of a breather here, I'm going to throw this one up because we got to give props to our friends over at Coffee Brand Coffee. If you're not familiar with Coffee Brand Coffee, they're a small premium coffee brewer and roaster. They actually are located in Utah, I believe it is. They actually do small batches where they roast it, they grind it, or if you get beans, they just put it in bags. But then they send it out. They've got different flavored coffees, gourmet teas, hot cocos. I think they've got 3 different flavors of hot cocoa right now. They've
Oh,
also
goodness.
got that we love a cold brew coffee bags. We go through them by the gallon around here. And they've got K cups for their medium and dark roast. And anyone watching on here gets a 5% discount using the promo code Valor SDS. And yeah, if you're looking for something different or a change of pace, in the picture there, we've got a blueberry cobbler and the French toast. I will tell you honestly that the ladies in my office absolutely love those two flavors. And sort of hiding in the back center there is my double caffeinated. It definitely is a nice pick me up. I've been drinking on it a little bit this evening because, I need something to sort of kick me in the head and get me going once in a while. And hey, even if you go to their website, check out their reviews. Honestly, their stuff is primo. The greatest thing is, when they actually roast it, they grind it and they ship it to you. It doesn't shit in the warehouse or their warehouse or Walmart's warehouse or Philo's warehouse or anyone else's stuff. It's coming out. So it's probably going to be about some of the freshest coffee you can find. And it is well worth it. You deserve a good cup of coffee, and Coffee Brand Coffee definitely fills that need for us. And again, we got you a 5% discount with promo code Valor SDS. So go ahead and make good use of that. I'll go ahead and I'll put that up here so you can see it.
Oh my God, Mike! I cannot believe you've been holding out on me.
What?
Coffee.
What? Do you want some?
I want some. I want to try the blueberry. That looks so good.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna fight with the ladies in my office, huh?
I am. The blueberry and the French toast, and I just looked it up on the website, and there's a maple pecan. Oh my Lord! I
Yeah,
cannot believe
they've
you've
actually
been
got a
holding it out.
bunch. And it's really funny because to me anyway, like I said, I've enjoyed it. Now, I will say this, let's see here. I'm gonna pull these up and we can check out their coffee here. They've got, yeah, these are some of the different roasts on it. And again, dark roast, flavored medium roast, decaf light roast. Just going into the coffee here. Um, Hazelnut churro, blueberry cobbler, maple pecan, sticky pecan roll, French toast, salted caramel. That's also been kind of popular around the
Oh my
office.
goodness!
Decaf, which personally I think that's sad bean water, but okay, whatever. That's my double caffeinated here, and then the big cold brew bags. That makes a pitcher.
Oh
They
wow!
2 bags will make a half gallon, I think. So I'll go with those a lot, and we keep a big pitcher like that in the office. And yeah, then they've got the Roaster's Choice. This is a different blend each month. It's a subscription deal. They've got the medium and dark roast K cups, all kinds of starter kits here. Let's see here. But the hot cocoa too, we tried that around Christmas. I got some goodies from them, and the velvet hot cocoa, caramel hot cocoa, marshmallow hot cocoa. They did have peppermint, but it was a holiday special that they sort of went
Oh
out of.
goodness,
The peppermint hot cocoa
I love peppermint hot chocolate. Oh my goodness.
and chocolate covered coffee beans.
No way.
Oh, and they are good. Oh, and they are good. It's 23 reviews, 5 stars on the average. And again, so yeah, they do some good stuff. I'll have to get your address later and see what I can do a little bit to try to help out here.
Oh, that would be nice. Even just a little smidgen of a sample.
I'll see what I can find for you.
You're
But
the
yeah, I
best.
love their stuff. And you know how we go through coffee around the office.
Oh yes.
And it's like, okay, especially when I'm writing curriculum, I'll sit there, I'll get this thing filled up and I'll do, plenty of coffee brand coffee.
Oh yes. That looks divine.
Um, and the other thing, they've got the little My K cups or build your own K cup things on there.
Yeah.
So if you get one of the flavors that does not come in K cup, it only covers in like the bean or the ground. You can actually do those by way of the My K cups. Trust me, our ladies made very sure of that. Uh,
That's wonderful.
mm-hmm. What other thoughts do you have? Okay, we've got a new person. They go to the range. They go in, and again, ideally, they've admitted to whoever it is, or not admitted, but told, hey, I'm new. I've never been here before. That sort of lets at least you behind the counter know kind of what the game plan is.
Yeah.
And that's gonna help y'all serve them better.
Right.
If again, I can walk into a range. I've probably gone shooting a few places. If I go somewhere I don't know, I'm gonna be, hey, look, what advice, how do y'all work? Oh, you got a video, or oh, I need to read the sheet and initial each of these, or range policy, range rules. Now, I will say, and I believe in this 100%, some ranges have loaner or rental guns on site.
Uh
If
huh.
they do, everyone I've seen that's had a rental gun, you've had to actually purchase the ammunition from that range.
Yes.
And now, some people will question that a little bit. And all I'm going to say is it's their gun that you are using. If you have your home loads, hand loads, hot loads, or whatever, Uncle Fred made out in his back shed, whatever, ballistics he concocted, they just want to make sure what you're putting through their gun isn't going to damage their gun.
Or hurt you.
Right.
If for some reason there was double feed, or it misfired and there was a malfunction.
Right.
You have to look at it, from a liability standpoint. It's not that we're just trying to make money off of
Right.
you winning one of our firearms. It's a safety thing.
Right. Let's go ahead and make sure that what you're doing with a rental gun or a new gun, boom. Okay. Beyond that, I know some ranges again will have different requirements as far as they don't want open lead bullets. They want jacketed rounds.
Right.
Okay. They don't want steel ammo or aluminum case ammo. Fine. Again, I try to be as respectful as I can of them. The next thing I would say, especially as a newer shooter, if you haven't put many rounds through the gun, if you're going out to the range, whether it's a revolver or a semi-auto, if you've never shot it before, load it with 1 round.
Yes.
1 round. Because if you've never shot this gun before, you don't know how it and or you are going to react together. And so again, from that standpoint, get that 1 round through it. Congratulations. You've just fired a gun.
Yes. That's a very good point.
That's something I do even when I take someone out to the range. If they've never shot a gun before, we're going to not only brief on the safety rules and do a quick pre-brief, but I'm going to go through how to load it and everything else. And I'm going to say, let's start off with one time. We're going to put this one in. We're going to show how to chamber it, how to do everything. And okay, we're going to go through target alignment and all the steps. And then, okay, fire one shot. And then I usually, because a lot of times that first bang is a big deal to them.
Yes.
And that is that second of, I don't want to say sensory deprivation, but there's been this big bang, there's been this big noise, possibly a little bit of a flash, cartridge has been ejected, it may have bounced who knows where. The last thing I want them to do is be like totally terrified of it. The autoloader chambers another round as right as they wheel it around towards me.
Mm-hmm.
Or have it pointed up toward the ceiling.
I've seen that happen.
They've watched a lot of Hollywood and they, are pointing it straight up toward the ceiling. And when they wheel it towards you with their fingers still on the trigger, that's when you are very happy. Personally, me as an instructor, I'm very glad that no matter how crowded that little range bench is, I make sure if I'm using a new shooter that gun is within my arm's reach to reach over top of.
Exactly.
I'll do the over capture very quickly. And then usually I'll say, okay, wow, congratulations, you just shot a gun. And instead of it being, oh my God, what just happened, we go to something positive. And again, to me, and I'm sure for you, a good day at the range is usually a positive thing. We have fun doing it.
Yes.
I like going to the range. I enjoy it. For new shooters, if they go out and if they're using something too powerful, or something they're not happy with, or something that doesn't fit their hand, or they're out there and they shoot too much the first day and they go home and their hands sore, their wrists sore, their fingers sore from stuffing magazines.
Yep.
It honestly becomes less about the fun and more like work. And it shouldn't be like that.
Right.
We build skills by doing it in a positive environment. And I'm going to say the same thing. I worked years and years ago when I was in high school at a driving range. And if you go out to the driving range and you say, wow, I'm going to go get the biggest jumbo wonder bucket of balls I can because it's the best discount or the best deal, hey, great. Halfway through it, you're starting to wear blisters on your hands. Your golf gloves, you're sore, you're tired, you feel like you've hit 3,000 balls. Guess what? You're not going to want to go back and practice again.
Exactly.
That wonderful afternoon at the range is now turned into something arduous and torturous, and it's not fun. So, again, I urge people, hey, go out, have fun at the range, enjoy it. It should not be a torture session. That being said, I'm also going to go with another don't be that guy. Now, this is going to sound really, really sexist, but that's okay. You're going to let me get away with it. And I've got you here, so I guess I get my permission from you to go there. You ready?
Yep.
Guys, you've got that 357 Smith & Wesson 686, and you've got some defensive grade, hot-loaded Federal Hydroshock hollow points that you can burn up because you're getting ready to change them out anyway. And so you get your girlfriend out there with you who may have shot nothing besides a 22 or a 25 in her life, and you take her out to the indoor range so you can get good concussive therapy, and you have her start doing that. Guys, if she's not having fun at the range, she's not coming back. I have a bad piece of news for you about those pretty things that we all have to deal with called women. They have a mind of their own sometimes.
Yes,
and you're going to struggle to get her back if you do that to her. Here, why don't you check out this 44 Super Magnum I rented? Why don't you try this 500 A&E I rented?
Yeah.
If people are not having fun doing it, not only is it they won't want to come back, there's a safety thing there.
Right.
If, again, I've been in the fire business. If you take the brand new rookie firefighter and you put them on the end of a 2.5, and you crank up the pressure and you let it fly, hey, yeah, guess what? I can knock a newbie on their butt who doesn't know any better. Well, congratulations, stud boy. I'm proud of you.
Yep.
The problem is not only it's not safe on the range, but it is going to really, really hurt them from wanting to come back.
Yeah.
They should have fun with this stuff. Take them
Yes.
out there. If they're comfortable shooting their little 380 and they don't even want to put 50 rounds through it, they just want to put 10, 20 rounds through it today. Hey, great. That's 10 or 20 rounds more practice than they would have had if they said, no, I'm staying home.
Yeah.
Now, I can go dump 50 rounds in an afternoon, not a problem. I can dump 100 rounds in an afternoon, not a problem. I can, go break out larger guns. Now, if they say, hey, I want to try this, don't be the ass who says, sorry, this isn't for little girls. Say, are you sure? And you help them through it and you work with them. And this goes again, regardless if it's male, female, or male, male, or female, female. You know, the veteran shooters need to not only watch out for and coach the newbies, but they also need to make sure that they're having a positive time.
Yes. Very much so.
Be the positive ambassador towards firearms and shooting sports.
Absolutely.
The first
Absolutely.
time you take her to the range, let's say it's not an indoor range, let's say it's an outdoor range, and you decide you're going to have a little fun, and you say, well, hey, guess what? I'm going to teach her, show her what a real big bad gun is. And so you pull out a 300 blackout with a 7-inch barrel that emits a rather large flash out the business end of it every time it's fired. Guess what? They're not going to be having fun.
No.
You can teach just as well and say, okay, you want to try an AR? Let's try an AR. Put a round, maybe 2 in the mag.
Yep.
Let them try it. Okay, you want to get some more? We'll put 5 in it. They don't need to clear a 30-round mag.
No.
There's nothing. Quit trying to make a new person prove themselves, because think about it. When you were new, someone could have done it to you too, and maybe they did. And I'm sorry, maybe that person was a jackass and they made you feel this tall. Don't you do it to someone else.
You're right.
I mean,
You're right.
I've seen this equation go on in different versions of it. Either someone is being shamed, oh, all you've got is that little 380.
Yeah.
Well, again, within 3 yards, 3 shots, that 380 is going to be just fine.
Oh yes. Oh
And
yes.
again, we'll go to the same point as where we set our targets. Honestly, when I'm teaching a new shooter, that target's like 5-10 yards. That's it. Full
Yeah.
size silhouette, 5-10 yards.
Yep.
Again, when was your last lethal force encounter or self defense shooting that you needed match grade accuracy at 20 yards, 25 yards, 100
Yeah.
yards? You didn't.
Nope.
Now, is that something we build up to? Yes. But think about it. If you went to the gym for the first time and your trainer sat there and said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of 50-pound plates on each side of this bench press. That'll give you about 100 on either side, plus the weight of the bar. Yeah, okay, now press that 10 times. When you
Yeah.
can't do it, when you're struggling, when you wake up hurting the next day, you're not going to want to go back to the gym. You have turned someone off on the shooting sports.
Right.
If
Um.
someone, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what I was going to add was, whenever I was instructing and I had a new person, um, fortunately the range I worked at, we did have rentals,
Yeah.
and what I would do, um, was I would start them off with a 22. You know,
Hmm.
hardly any recoil, um, and work. If their comfort level was where they would want to try a larger caliber, um, then we would go up.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's about having a good time, but being safe while you're doing it.
Right. And to me, a lot of it comes into not only having a good time, being safe, but also what's going to get them to want to do this again.
Right.
let's not torture someone today. If like you said, starting with a 22, I would always start, with a new person, 1 round.
Yep.
Then I'd do 2 rounds. We would not get to a full mag until we were at least 10 rounds in.
Yeah.
But we would be doing that and learning the mechanics. Okay, you see, you fired that 1 round, now it locked back. Why did it lock back? Because this magazine is empty. And the follower is going to do that. Now, if you want to change the magazine, I'd have another one with 2 rounds. This is how we do a mag change. Now we'll load this one. Now this, you can either pull it off the lock or you can drop it with a thumb, either one. And that's going to load the next round into the, breech face. And we'll fire. Okay, we fired twice. Great. Now you see it's locked back. I can work skills 1 and 2 rounds at a time to get them familiar with that gun, how it feels and everything else. Plus, it keeps the, oh my God, it went bang, turn around and pointed at the instructor with their finger still on the trigger. Yeah. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to me. I've seen the videos enough times of it happening that I'm very aware of it.
Right.
And I make sure, if I've got a student that's shooting downrange, I'm standing to the side of that student with my dominant hand, very clear, very free, and I'm watching. And when that gun goes off, I'm waiting to see if that gun starts coming around towards me, and I can easily, lock it down at arm's length.
Right.
Yeah. Because, it's a self-preservation, it's a safety thing, but also we get to the point of, okay, they're learning. We are the training wheels for their bicycle. As firearms instructors, I'll say it. And, we have to be there and provide that for them. And that's part of what we do.
Yep.
And that's, honestly, part of why we started this channel. I mean, building the channel, the whole concept of it was there's millions of new people out there, and they may not have that great neighbor to ask, You remember when we did the class, and I'm not going to name any names, but you remember there were several people in there who had not done much with firearms at all.
You're right.
And it was a very, very bare basics class for it, but, we went out with, I think, 6 people between the two of us with, she was lead instructor, I was RSO, I was standing right next to one of the 2 people on the line, and we kept it to 2 people on the line with both of us each within arm's reach of one of them.
Yep.
But we made sure that their first experience wasn't an OMG, I shot myself in the foot the first time I went to the range. Because they're not going to come back after that. You've turned someone off on everything.
Right.
You okay?
Yeah, I was just fixing me a little bite to eat.
Oh, okay.
And the dogs wanted out, so
I understand.
Have laptop will travel.
I understand. but yeah, I'll try to hook you up with some coffee later. But the stuff we're doing now with this, if you have any questions, I see we got a few people watching. By all means, if you have a question, please let us know. If you would, give us a thumbs up if you're finding any of this to be halfway useful, halfway intelligent, or halfway helpful. We're trying to, again, do something here, provide information. This is part 3 in our series. We started with very bare basics. I bought my first gun, and now we're sort of going through the range stuff because, again, trips to the range should be fun and enjoyable.
It should be exciting, for a new shooter. It's for me. I mean, and I've been shooting since I was like 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My middle brother took me out to a neighbor's farm, and we would go shooting in the gully.
Right.
And I can't remember what the first gun was he had me shoot, but it was I think it was a 357. And, my love for firearms started then.
So I was going to say, he decided to be that guy.
Yeah, he was that guy.
Yeah.
But,
I guess it's different if you're torturing your little sister.
Yeah, he was good at that. So
Eh,
as most brothers are, but
right,
um, you've got to, if you're going to do it, have fun with it. But
right,
I can't stress enough. Just be safe at it.
right.
Many times, um, big pet peeve. One of the four rules: keep your finger off the trigger.
Yep.
And it's so easy, to let it slide down. Anytime I have a firearm or a pistol in my hand, my finger is nowhere near that trigger. It's usually
Right.
resting right above the trigger guard, you know, on the side of the gun. Um,
And of course, I'm sure that carries through to any time you pick up a power tool.
yes, or a spray bottle.
That's what I was going to say. You're washing your windows and you suddenly realize that you've got your finger off the trigger of the window.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
but that
I feel you.
happens because I practiced it.
Well, it's you build good habits. You know,
Yes.
you've done perfect practice, and so you've ingrained that habit. I know I read somewhere it takes 21 days, or it takes 7 days to build it to this level, and 14 days a habit and everything.
Yep.
That's great. I don't know all the stats and the data on that. Okay, whatever. But if you get in the habit, and again, you've worked behind a gun counter, I've been behind a gun counter. You can also tell the people who know what they're doing when you hand them something.
Yes.
You know, I was looking at those 45s the other day up at PSA. I just sort of back and forth on that TSUS model. And so, I asked to take a look at it. And he handed it to me and he cleared it right in front of me.
Yep.
I received it from him. I cleared it right in front of him. Then I put it into battery and I had my finger up on that frame.
Yep.
You know what?
Was it?
I promise you at that moment, just the fact that he could tell, okay, I've got someone here who kind of knows a little bit,
Yeah.
knows something, but honestly, is that going to potentially help me get better treatment, service, whatever at that facility? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I
As
mean,
opposed to if the first thing I do is, put it in the battery by just dropping the slide release and then come up on him with it.
yeah, yeah. That doesn't go over very well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, as a salesperson, um, you know, competence goes a long way. You
Right.
know, and if you come in being Billy Badass, um, looking at a firearm and doing what you just described, you're not going to get very far with that staff.
Right. And the thing is, if by chance, let's say I decide I wanted to get one of those guns,
Mm-hmm.
or, I wanted to get that and say a holster for it or some mags for it, I guarantee you that gentleman would have been more willing to dig through in the back because it says we have a holster, but let me see if I can find it for you. As opposed to, well, it says we have one, but I can't find it.
Right.
Let me get this moron out of my face. I mean, come on, we're all human.
Right.
And again, that's where it comes into, well, anyone carries anything less than a 45, they just can't handle a real man's gun. Huh?
Right.
And, that gentleman sitting there, he's a bunk of deputies, he has 226 on. I'm standing there behind him, and I've got my Browning high power.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of a joke out of that one, too. You ready?
Yep.
After it's all said and done, the guy, he fiddle farted around, asked a bunch more questions, and left. Okay. I walk over to the other guy and I was like, you know what? I said, I was going to say something. He said, one way or the other, he said someone was going to say something. He said, I had to bite my tongue. I said, you didn't mention that, the county wasn't even going to. Not worth it. Said, yeah, I agree. So, oh, well, so we can go on. And he said, tell you a story. What's that? There was a mouse one time driving
Mhm.
along. And this mouse looked and he saw another mouse stuck way down in the crack, down the crevice between sidewalk.
Mhm.
And he was trying to reach down, and a mouse couldn't quite reach down far enough to get the other mouse out. So he runs and gets help. Well, he gets his friend, the elephant. The elephant comes over and the elephant says, yeah, I could probably get him out of there for you. He says, but there's one problem. I've got to take off my gun. So the elephant takes his gun belt off, hands it to the mouse to hold. The mouse looks at it and says, man, you're carrying a 9mm? How come you're carrying a 40? I carry a 45. And the elephant says, 9 works for me. So anyway, then the elephant proceeds to squat down, stick his schlong right down into that crack, and the other mouse grabs it and pulls him out. And so first mouse like, man, how'd you do that? And the elephant says, it's all good. Takes the gun, puts it back on. You know the moral of the story?
What's that?
If you're hung like an elephant, you don't feel bad about not carrying a 45.
That's funny.
Yeah,
But
there's also another one about the mouse coming over and trying to pull him out with a Corvette.
Mm-hmm.
And then the elephant pulls him out with a pickup truck.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, if you're hung like an elephant, you don't need a Corvette to pick something up.
Oh, man.
But yeah, he told me that, and I've remembered it since till this day. And again, this is, the fun part to me of going to the range. Now, not all the time, and it depends. If the folks in the gun store are slam busy and it's, COVID, or it's, Saturday before Father's Day and the place is a madhouse, or, weekend before hunting season opens and it's craziness. Okay. But a lot of times I'll go to the gun store and I'll kibitz with the people who work there. They know me. I've been in and out a few times.
Yeah.
And the question is, like you said, your regulars. How many times did y'all sit there and talk guns with your regulars?
Just about every time they came in.
Yeah. And what was their newest toy, or what did you get in, and what did this, and what did that? And hey, Sully, I got a really nice deal on this Browning over here. Really, you do, huh? I still have that gun.
Yep. Happens more times than not.
Yeah. But the other side of the coin is when they know you and they like you. I mean, I've had times of, hey, I just had this come in on trade-in. You ain't gonna believe this.
Right.
Or we went to this actually happened with a pawn shop that I used to get some stuff at. One of the owners, I won't say I think he was financially interested as an owner, but he was more their gun guy there.
Uh-huh.
I think there was a weird split or something where, it was this pawn shop, but he had bought the gun side of it or whatever. But he sits there and he goes, I just came back from a big auction and we've got a bunch of police turn-in models. And they were Smith 915s. An agency, law enforcement agency, had turned a bunch of them in.
Mm-hmm.
He had gone to a firearms dealer's FFL auction, and he had picked up a bunch of them.
Huh.
Now, a Smith 915 that honestly had one scratch up on the top side of the frame, but otherwise did not have a mark on it, had been in use probably 2 years for this agency. They were going from the 9 to like a 40 S&W. He said, I can get you as many as you want, $250 a piece.
What?
Yeah. He calls me up, says, hey, if you're interested, for you or anyone who works with you, say the word, I can get you as many as you want, $250 a piece.
Wow.
So I go up to the store a couple weeks later, and I'm saying, I kind of told him I was kind of interested. I tried to get up there, but my schedule was crazy. This is when I was still in paramedic school. Go up there, and he is, got this. And I look at them, and all the ones in the case, got 2 or 3 of them in the case.
Mm-hmm.
They're all $325.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, you want to know the funny part?
What's that?
I got 2 at $250 a piece.
Awesome.
He bought them at the auction for $2.25. Basically, the $25 he made on me for each one of them. He said, "You just paid my gas to go back and forth to the auction." It was an auction in Raleigh. He said, "You just paid my gas to go back and forth to the auction and get dinner."
Cool.
But John Q. Smith would come in there, and $325 for that pistol is a good deal.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a couple of them, and he let me actually go through and choose the ones I wanted. We looked for consecutive serials. We couldn't find those. But he let me look at the ones that had the least wear and tear, that looked good and everything else. And this one had a little mark on it. And I said, "That's fine by me." I said, I'm not looking for a Queen of the Gun safe. But it was a very nice, reliable, you're familiar with the 915s.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful Smith, full frame 9. And I'm like, that's nice. And I'm getting them for $250 a piece.
That's awesome.
Bought 2 of them. But the thing is, that's your local mom and pop gun shop, your local place. You've treated them good. You've been a good customer. You've been good to them. They'll take care of you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, nothing, like you said earlier, nothing against the box stores.
No.
Nothing against the box stores.
And I will say, sometimes, and it's a fact of life, and you know who I am thinking, C3, don't hate me for this. There's sometimes the mom and pop dealerships can't meet the prices that the big box stores are because of the volume they deal with.
Right.
We get that. That's life. That is what it is. Now, I will say this, though. If you're looking for a unique mag or unique holster, they're going to have more sales floor. They can keep more sizes in inventory and holsters or something inside the waistband, outside the waistband, high carry, medium rise, paddle back. There's so many different changes.
Right.
You're going to get a better selection there.
Right.
As far as any custom work or anything else, I hate taking my guns to a big box store.
Right.
I want to go where I know the guy who's going to be working on it.
Yes.
I don't want, there's some great gunsmithing schools out there, and there's some that are great at printing certificates and cashing checks.
Right.
And, I would love to be able to sit there and say, "Oh, yeah, here's this, that, and the other," and him call me up if I'm having an issue with something and, say, "Hey, look, this is what I'm finding. This is what I'm thinking." And I know some great guys, and they're, it's their shop. They're working on it. If it's not them, it's their son who's been watching them on the bench since they were this tall.
Right.
And that's where your local gun shops, your local ranges are great.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I'm not anti the big jumbo wonder ranges.
Right.
But, it is what it is. Another thought, again, for new people, and again, we're sort of spitballing here. If you haven't noticed, Karen and I like to meander a little bit as we chat. It's the squirrels.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mike, just go ahead and say it. We're squirreling.
Yeah. But, okay, indoor versus outdoor ranges. What are your thoughts?
I prefer, well, it just depends on what I'm shooting. If I'm shooting pistol, indoor, shotgun or rifle, I prefer outdoor.
Okay. Me personally, with the newer shooters, now, outdoor to me, or the ones we have here, are more labor intensive because they don't have the zip out quickie targets and the zip in quickie targets. And, they don't have everything there for me in the pro shop that I can get ammo and targets and ears and eyes, even though. But if I've got my eyes, my ears, my stuff, my target stands, so it's a little bit more of a pack-up job to go to an outdoor range.
Right.
But if I've got, someone going with me, especially if they're super new, I kind of like breaking them in on an outdoor range
Mm-hmm.
because that concussive therapy,
Right.
and if you've got someone, especially, and folks, again, you're a veteran shooter, and you see there's someone down there trying to work with a brand newbie, maybe, take a break from shooting the hot loads out of your 44 Ruger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying you're bad if you don't. But we were all new one time.
Yes.
And, now that's why I know you saw, no, you might not have seen them. They might have gotten them since you left, since the last time you were down here. I have got now the earphones with the electronics in them.
Yeah, I had a pair, yeah.
They're not like the walkie-talkie that I can talk to them on, but they do have the volume knob where they can turn them on and at least hear some ambient stuff.
Yes.
It still provides decent protection and audio limiting cut, but it's so much easier for me to talk over whatever else is going on in the building.
Right.
But, out on an outdoor range, especially if it's nice day weather-wise. Now, if it's cold, wet, nasty, rainy, or it just rained 4 inches 3 days ago and we're going to be up to our knees in mud, that's not a fun day. But I love if we've got a beautiful afternoon to go out to an outdoor range because, we know the decibels are going to be a hell of a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
We know the gun is, even a 380 is going to be less intimidating when it's not echoing back on you.
Exactly.
And so, again, and we'll also prepare, and I'll talk about it when I teach CWP, indoor versus outdoor. Outdoor, a little bit more, work, but can be worth the work. Indoor ranges, very convenient, very quick, Now, a lot of times it's, do you want a nice sit-down meal that you're going to sit down and wait for, or do you want to grab something at the drive-thru?
Right.
What's your time configuration? Oh, wow, I've got to do a stream tonight. I've got to do a show tonight. I'm going to grab something quick on the way home. I can get an hour range time in at an indoor range real easy.
Yes.
Because I can pull in there literally and, empty the magazine of what I'm carrying and use all their stuff and do it and boom and clean up and be done. Speaking of cleanup, indoor or outdoor ranges, I don't care what you're using. Clean your crap up, please. We had a problem with one of our outdoor ranges, a beautiful outdoor range. They actually finally shut it down temporarily because of the trash and abuse at the range. Now, you've got a 100-yard range with berms at 25, 50, and 100. Great range to shoot at. Really, really nice setup that we lost the use of for a few weeks. And there was a sign posted that this was done because of the trash, the targets. We're only supposed to use like paper or biodegradable targets, so they let you use clay. But people went out there and they decided to shoot milk jugs and watermelons and who knows what.
Oh, my word.
And this was a free public range, or not a free, it was a $5 a day public range. You and I could go out there with everything you own, everything I own, and load the back of my SUV with ammo and targets.
Uh-huh.
And we could stay all day for $5 a piece.
Wow.
At a nice covered shelter. Now, there's no restrooms there, so you stop on the way out at the local gas station. Beautiful place. I enjoyed taking new people out there to teach. They had picnic tables behind it. You could sit there. Frequently, I'd bring a cooler with like water or Gatorade or Mountain Dew or, iced coffee in it. And, we could have a wonderful afternoon there. But unfortunately, people had gone and they cleaned their guns sitting back at the picnic tables. And the people who were maintaining this start finding either beer bottles, beer cans, and then, of course, someone's got to put them out and use them as targets. And so we've got to have a bunch of broken glass. Folks, treat it like it was your own range. Treat it with respect. Unlike, your mama don't work here. And again, with the indoor range, When I go there, I tell everybody when we go to the indoor range, leave it better than you found it. Leave
Yep.
it better than you found it. If you go in there and you find a bunch of brass left on the floor, when you're cleaning up your brass, policing yours, police up theirs.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you shot nothing but 9 and 38 or 9 and 380. And I know that's clearly longer 38 brass or little 22 brass. When you're cleaning up, clean the whole area. You've
Yeah.
already got the squeegee or the broom or whatever in your hand. Hey, look, there's a bunch of trash that someone threw for the trash can and missed. Take a second to pick up their box from their ammo or to treat it with respect.
Yes.
And I will say this also, and again, from having been around a range, you may think, well, nobody's going to notice what I do and what I don't do. I was at an indoor range in another state. There was a bunch of debris. I was the only one shooting in there. There was a bunch of debris left at one of the little stobs. I don't know who did or what. But when I got done and I was policing up my stuff, I walked over to the next one over because I already had the my junk in my hands. I was grabbing theirs and throwing it out. Cleaned up a bunch more brass than I shot. Did it and everything else. Folks, this camera's up in most of these indoor ranges.
Oh yeah.
I come walking out. The owner of the range says, "Hey man, I appreciate you cleaning that up." And he hands me a box of range ammo. He said, "Throw that in the bag for you next time you're up here, bro."
Oh, how wonderful.
And it was, it was nothing to me to spend a minute, 2 minutes doing it.
Yeah.
I just, man, the place looks junky. But he's like, I appreciate you doing that, man. Here you go. And, $50. This is back in the days when, cheap range ammo was probably $6 or $7 a box, $50 a 50.
Yeah.
It was cheap reloads, but,
There's something to shoot.
yeah, it went through the gun.
He didn't have to do that.
He didn't have to do it, number one. But, again, you go in mutual respect, goes far.
It does. It does.
Well, let's see here. I don't see any questions in the chat. I see we've got a few people sort of bouncing in and out throughout the whole stream here. Folks, if you have a question, please, by all means, hit us up, please, right now on the live chat over here. Also, I'm going to put this up as well. If you have any questions, we do have the Facebook page up for the Gun Club podcast. Beyond that, we do the Rumble videos and live streams. We try to do at least one a week. Ideally, we're doing 2 to 3 a week. Just depends on how things are going. We've also got the locals community. If you look down on the bottom, you'll see the little red tab with join for the locals community. The locals community is totally free. We do post articles as well as current events, different gun humor, gun cartoons we find. And we're also going to be trying to set live chats up on locals sometime soon. If you want to, you can email me at mike.southeastdefense@gmail.com. We're going to do our best to hold these streams, and when we do, we post it out on both the Facebook page and the locals community to let you know in advance. We do most of these on Rumble. Some we will simulcast to Rumble and YouTube. I don't have anything personally against YouTube. It's not that I hate them or anything else. It's just they sometimes can be not particularly gun friendly. Now, today, we're probably going to take this stream and I'm going to record it and send it up to YouTube later on. However, what I will say is, if we're doing anything that involves live firearms or live fire, YouTube can get a little bit cantankerous about that. And so I try to limit gun handling and gun manipulation on here. If you look at part 1 and part 2 of this stream, there was lots of gun handling and gun manipulation. So that being said, sort of went from there. Karen, man, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think, anybody that's, thinking about, going to the range for the first time, I think it's a wonderful thing. Don't let anybody, talk you out of it. There's a lot of political people that have their own political views as far as Second Amendment and what type of firearms you should have, but don't let anybody, um, damper your want to explore the world of shooting.
Right.
Um, you may get into it, you like it, you're good at it, get into competition shooting. I mean, there are so many different avenues you can take. Um, you know, you like shooting pistols, but okay, you try a rifle and you really like rifle shooting or shotgun, or, I mean, there's just so many
Yeah.
avenues.
And there's nowadays there's all sorts of 3-gun competitions and
Yes.
defensive pistol association, and that's you know there's definitely a sporting side of this that's above and beyond you know day to day self defense. And it's like Karen says, don't let anyone tell you not to,
No.
because to me that's just it's stealing someone else's playtime, stealing their fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like we
And the
said
folks
earlier,
out there who are veterans, be good ambassadors.
yes. Yes. And that was one thing with working at the gun range. Our veterans that would come in, you know, were some of the best people,
Mm-hmm.
to help out,
Yeah.
if um, situation, we're busy behind the counter selling, and my buddy Jim comes in, and he was, in the military. Hey Jim, can you help this customer? Show them,
Yeah.
how to break it down, or proper handling. Don't second guess your veterans.
Oh
You
yeah, definitely. And another, just right off the top there, again, you've been going to the range a few times, you will definitely get to the point that, be willing to help the new shooters. You mentioned veterans in general, but, it was, I think it was almost weird or eerie for me, having been a bit of a range rat and a range regular up in North Carolina when, the couple who owned it, um, she was out having a baby and they were getting slammed on a weekend, and I happened to be in there just waiting to shoot. And he looked at me and he says, "What are you doing tomorrow?" "What do you mean?" He said, "I've got a basic firearms class tomorrow. Do you want to teach it? Do you want to run the store?"
know.
And I said, "I'll teach it." But I mean, he knew me and he's like, "Okay, hang out till I get you some notes." And I'm like, "I got to go in like 30 minutes because I've got to work shift tonight." He's like, "You're going to
Right.
work shift tonight and come teach in the morning?" And I was like, "Yeah, they make coffee for that."
Oh
He's like,
yeah.
"I will have the pot on when you get here, sir."
And that leads, for me, that leads into, okay, you've been to the range, you enjoy it. Become
There
an
are careers in
instructor.
this. There are careers in this, yes.
Oh yeah.
Become a formal instructor, or if you know an instructor, get with them, because a lot of times, I'll say this, as an instructor, Karen and I have taught together. We live a few miles apart. We live in different states.
Yeah, just
But,
maybe it.
but, you know, how many times, if you've got a bunch of brand new folks, would you love to have, you know, even though I'm not a North Carolina certified instructor, oh wow, can you come out and play RSO to help me out?
Exactly.
You know, and you may get that, hey, help me out with an RSO just to give me an extra set of eyes and ears on some new folks.
Yeah.
And be the person who helps people get into this stuff, because this stuff is fun. It really is.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of great people.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of great people.
I know
Um,
I've enjoyed it. Most, I'd say 99.9% of the people I've met are great. And it is, definitely a different world, but it's a fun world to play in.
it is.
So,
It
well,
really is.
that's all I've got for the day. Karen, I thank you for joining us. Hopefully,
Anytime.
you come back in again. Did you
I'd
enjoy
love
it
to.
tonight?
Oh, yes.
I know this is a little bit outside your comfort zone, but we got your camera sort of semi-working. We at least got a picture of you in case you wonder why we're a little late starting tonight. Poor Karen couldn't quite get her camera to take the way it was supposed to take, and rather
Yeah.
than do that, I said, "Fine, we'll just put you a little. You'll be a little talking head.
Yeah,
We'll have our
that's me, the
camera."
talking head.
But the fun thing is, as you can see, it's fun. I enjoy doing these streams. I enjoy what we do, folks. Y'all be safe, take care of yourselves, and go out, teach someone something, learn something new, get a little bit out of your comfort zone. You never know, it could be fun.
That's right.
Yep. All righty. Well, y'all have a wonderful evening, folks.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, dear.
All righty.
Bye bye.